Thank you for joining us, Professor. I have Amir with me, and we are talking about tigers, but also we would like to know some facts about the nutrition and this baby formula scandal which he was trying to highlight in the movie. What can you tell us about it?
Well, mother's milk, human milk, is the best thing for babies.
Yes.
Anywhere in the world, whether it's in Canada, in the US, in Pakistan, or anywhere. Babies are much healthier if they receive mother's milk instead of formula. And in most of the world, millions of children die because they don't get mother's milk.
Okay.
So the formula companies, some of them make very good formula, but it's never as good as human milk or as mother's milk.
Correct.
So what we want is for the formula companies to not undermine mother's ability to breastfeed. And now companies like the company that Amir was denouncing are promoting formula as though it is the same almost as human milk. They promote it to doctors, and because doctors don't learn much about this in medical school, they don't know the difference. They get more information from the salesman, and they start prescribing formula to mothers instead of helping mothers to breastfeed. Okay. And then children get sick and die. Mm-hmm. So we want the formula companies to be honest with people and to protect human milk. We're not against the formula itself. There are times, very rare, but there are times when you need a formula, and then we're glad to have a good formula. But it should not come and undermine a mother's ability to breastfeed, because it will hurt the baby's chance of survival. And when they survive, they also are not as healthy if they're fed on formula as if they're fed on human milk.
So when you heard about the struggle that Amir went through, and he came to Canada, and then somehow you guys got connected, tell us a little bit about that part, please.
Well, at one point a colleague from England wrote to me and said, how come you're not doing anything for Amir or something? And I didn't even know what had happened. But it's very rare that we have someone who has been working inside the company and who is aware of the damage that the sales are doing to babies' health, and that denounces that. It's very rare. And he had arrived in Canada unknown to me, and he was trying to get in as a refugee because he was threatened in Pakistan because of the denunciations he had made. So this colleague, who had been a former director of nutrition in UNICEF in New York, where I then was director of nutrition for a short while, this colleague wrote to me and said, how come you're not doing anything? So then I started looking for Amir. I didn't know where he was, who he was, what he had done. And when I found out, well, we started trying to work to help him get into Canada because he had to be protected. So that's when we worked, and eventually I found a lawyer who was very generous and who very kindly helped Amir to negotiate his refugee status in Canada.
Well, we thank you so much for helping out for this noble cause, and hopefully we will all stick together with Amir for his cause and do the just thing, right, which is saving the lives of the babies. And as you said, there's nothing wrong with the formula. There's nothing wrong with these pharmaceutical companies, the food companies, the food chains, the big names. It's just that the nature, the mother milk is the primary source of nutrition for the newborn babies until a certain age. And that's what Amir was trying to highlight in his movie. I thank you so much for your time, and appreciate that.
I just want to add that
please.
What is wrong is how the companies promote their product.
Yes.
It's how they promote their product is what undermines babies' health, babies' survival, and mother's ability to breastfeed.
Basically, so the marketing
behavior, it's not the product that is not proper, it is the behavior of the companies towards the product.
Yes, we did talk about the marketing practices. Thank you so much. Ms. Elisabeth Sterken, you are with Amir and myself, and we are talking about this issue with which happened with Amir. What can you tell us about it?
About the film, yes, Tigers. It's a very important film because it exposes the marketing practice of the infant formula industries, and it's very critical to do that because of the negative impacts on an infant's health. There's a much higher death rate and a much higher rate of illness.
Let me interrupt you for a quick second here, and before we jump into that, I know that your organization supports like 90 countries for baby nutrition and baby food, and right. My audience would like to know a little bit about the INFACT Canada first, and then we'll jump into the Tigers as well.
Okay, good. Okay, well, yes. Okay, INFACT Canada, it's the Infant Feeding Action Coalition, and we're part of the global network, which is the International Baby Food Action Network. And what we do is we work to protect breastfeeding because it is, of course, the normal way to feed babies. Okay. And other interventions will cause other health implications if babies are not fed. So we monitor the marketing practices of the infant formula industries and the baby food industries because the World Health Organization has put out the marketing code which requires them to market according to safe practices to ensure that breastfeeding is protected and that mothers are not duped.
So in a layman's language, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I'm trying to understand, and I want to teach my audience also that the rule of the thumb is that the breastfeeding, the natural feeding is encouraged, and artificial or chemical or what not you can call is discouraged by the international code. And also it's not that the companies should not promote it in any means by supporting it, investing in it, or gifts and bribes and whatnot. Is this the main core values of the code?
Yes, that's exactly it. The marketing practices are restricted so that mothers are not seduced into using the products, and especially the healthcare system, because the healthcare system has a lot of capacity for endorsement and giving the products credibility. And so the use of the industry of the healthcare system is also prohibited by the international code. And this is why the film is so important, because it really exposes how the industry tries to use the healthcare system in order to get mothers to use the products.
Could you have imagined that a small town guy, Syed Amir Raza Hussain from Pakistan's small town Sialkot, would be on the world map against a giant? Would you ever imagine that?
Well, I think that's the amazing thing about the film, isn't it?
Yep.
It clearly is, a film about a hero who exposes these practices because his conscience would not allow this kind of behavior by the industry, and yet he was part of it, and his conscience would not allow him to do that, and so he began to expose what was going on.
So when you found out about this whole situation, you approached Amir, and then you had a press conference, and could you tell me a little bit about that press conference that day? What happened?
Yes, exactly. Well, it was very interesting because Amir came to Canada once he had gone through this exposure process, and we felt it was safe for him to be in Canada. It was a good place for him to be. And when he arrived, we wanted to also, let the media know about the importance of what he had done, the whistleblowing and the exposure of the industry. So we had a press conference in Toronto, and it was very interesting because we had some good reporters there from our major media, major national media. And the interesting thing was when that particular reporter left the
press conference,
the press conference, there were two Nestlé people outside of the door, and they started talking to him and telling him that there was another side to the story. And when he got back to his newspaper, he wrote up the story, but then somehow his editors told him that he couldn't publish it, and it was not published. So that was very unfortunate, and it goes to show that, you know, obviously they didn't want this exposed, and tried every which way to keep it out of the media.
And Elisabeth, I think the next day there is a 6-page advertisement in the same newspaper.
Yes, there was, yes.
Well, that's what I'm hoping, that instead of airing Amir's this interview, we might not be airing the advertising on our network. But this is not going to happen, because we believe firmly in bringing out the facts for the masses. And I appreciate and thank you so much for joining us and enlightening us on this issue. I really thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.